What's going on, guys? How are you? So I think this is part 4 of this car now in the swap. So for mock-up purposes, we threw the radiator in to see all the clearancing and how much space we have. It is very tight in here. But anyways, we're going to be doing today our oil relocation kit, which is going to be involving the TriggaSpec relocation kit that we offer for the JZs, LS, RBs, pretty much a lot of those platforms. 2 different oil filters for sizing, all our fittings. These are crimp style fittings. Obviously I'll be crimping them later, but we got rubber lines to mock them up. Good practice, very easy way to do for anybody who has a business who does R&D. We got some P clamps for being able to secure the hoses, our mounting hardware, paint marker, some Vaseline, and then obviously just basic tools. And we got heat sleeving, and this will also be our turbo feed line adapter that we'll be using. So yeah, so I'm gonna show you guys step by step how to do this if you have an LS, and then you could also follow. So I'll make hose lengths and everything for this swap if anybody ends up doing it, especially if you go with the single turbo and then the high mount alternator, because you'll be able to, as you guys see the little holes I made right there, this is where the oil housing will sit. But yeah, this is universal, so you can always purchase this itself, and it comes with the other piece as well for like JZs and RBs, where the oil filter is actually on the block, since the LS has 2 ports that comes out. But anyways, pretty much everything. So let's show you guys how to do this. So we're gonna interrupt today's video with our sponsor, which is URAS. URAS is a portable car player that uses Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and this is something made for some of these older cars who don't come with GPS and stuff inside of them. For example, this is our older Toyota Tundra that we have. We're gonna slap one of these guys in, so we have GPS, phone connection, all the goodies that comes with these that these cars don't have. So in our Tundra from my uncle, as you guys can see, it has just this old school AM FM radio sort of thing. I believe it even takes cassettes, and this is no go, so we're gonna hook him up. So the URAS come with all these features on it. Inside our box comes with our display, and as well as some of the other features you're gonna need, is the wiring for it and your mount for the windshield. So in this kit, it comes with this dual port charger, as well as the power cable for the unit, the mount, and then you have like your auxiliary cord, and as well, I believe this is like an older style cord for auxiliary. Anyways, we won't be using these. All right, we got our window mount, we got our mount on the back. Now we're just gonna throw that on. So we got it mounted up, very, very nice. Now we can go ahead and turn everything on and see how it works. All right, so we're gonna crank the car into accessory mode, and URAS is loading. Okay, so URAS now is on the screen where it's asking you to connect to your Bluetooth, which if you do, it'll be Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. But this is the main interface that it comes with, so it has a lot of apps itself that you can be able to use, but you won't really be using any of this once you connect to Apple CarPlay. So in the main screen, you have your apps, some of these features. This is like a tablet pretty much, but if you go to phone link, then it gives you Apple and Android Auto, which you can use, so you can go ahead and connect to it. So it has CarPlay and then mirror, which mirroring is pretty much your phone will connect to it, so what you're doing on your phone will show here, like if you want to watch YouTube videos and stuff like that. Don't recommend it while driving, but it is a feature. But anyways, I wanted to give a huge shout out to URAS for sponsoring today's video. Thank you again. And if you guys are looking to get yourself one of these, if you have an older car, this is a must-have. There's links in the description with your coupon code if you're interested in one. Thank you. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of the video. And to be exact, this is what I'm talking about. This is the other piece. So typically if you have a JZ, this will slap on to the car itself, and then you route your lines to the relocation and then to the oil cooler. But yep, very nice. Anyways, we won't be using that piece because, like I said, the LS has 2 sumps coming out of the pan, so we're gonna be utilizing that setup. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, if you guys look right there, there's those 2 steel caps on the oil pan. Those are what the oil lines will be running to our relocation. So pretty much this is gonna mount up in the car like this, and from the pan it's gonna go here, from here to the oil cooler, which is right here, and then oil cooler will run back to here, which feeds the filter, and then from the filter back to the motor. Very important on LSs to route this correctly, otherwise you're gonna have oiling issues and not good. And then also, I don't know if I ever showed this, we ran our heater codes, core hoses, using the LOJ heater block as well with temp sensor for the fins. We got our turbo blanket on. Everything's starting to come together very nicely. Anyway, so the first step to doing this kit does come with a bracket that you can use. I'll show you guys. So the kit comes with this bracket, obviously. You can use this, very nice, but this was a little too small, I found, for the purposes of what I needed. So to do that, I just created a custom bracket out of aluminum. Went ahead and slapped some paint on it. It's drying right now, but that's the 2 holes where it connects to the back of the sandwich plate, and those are the mounting holes. I made extra mounting holes because I don't want this thing wobbling or coming loose or whatever. Anyways, for this installation now, we're gonna begin. First step is to get all these fittings on here. They're hand tight right now, but you want to get them tight. Put some paste or Teflon. I don't really like Teflon. I apply paste to everything, but yeah, get that tightened up, get this good. So once all this is in and we throw it into the car, then we don't have to remove it again and do etc. And then as well, we need to, on this side right there, that Allen needs to come out, and that's where our turbo feed fitting will go. You can also feed it through right here where the oil filter is. There's another bung. For the way I'm gonna install this, is gonna be close to the exhaust manifold. I prefer this to just be up here where it's just nice and not directly in the heat. So yeah, let's show you guys how to do all this stuff, and then we'll get to all this. All right, so we're at the bench now. We got the sandwich plate itself. I went ahead and removed the Allen bolt, which is a size 5, and pretty much looks like this if this camera focuses. Now we're gonna install our turbo feed fitting, which is just pretty much gonna thread into here. But before we go ahead and thread this fully in, we're gonna apply some of this gasolina seal or whatever, gasola seal. This is the best of the best stuff. So, and pretty much after we install this, we're gonna install our ports as well on it, which are these guys. So apply some paste on the thread, and then go ahead and take the washer and put it on, and then tighten it down. Now these don't need to be crazy tight. It is a size 25 mil, so either a socket or a wrench. Just like that, we went ahead and got this fixed up, all tightened up. I put some Tesa tape underneath it too, so it's not just sitting on a little bracket. Now just with paint marker, you're gonna want to bolt mark all these so you can see if it moved. And that's it for this part, and then we'll go do the next one now. But we're gonna go ahead and remove this. Gonna be in the way for a little bit. Now we're gonna take our sandwich plate. As you guys saw, we made the bracket for it. Now these holes right here, this is the area where it's gonna sit, and we have all our mounting hardware already, so we're gonna start mounting this guy up. Pretty much have this whole setup right here. Our sandwich plate is bolted right up, tons of clearance next to headers, and then mounting looks very nice. Okay, so now we can go ahead and build the front portion of where the lines will go, and both these style filters are gonna be able to work as well. Pretty much for the oil cooler itself, now we're going to be using these 245, and then we got our cooler right here where the cooler will connect to the 90s. So now that we mounted up the fittings, we're going to want to throw ahead and throw the radiator back into place, so then we could route those lines going to it. So now we got our radiator in place, our oil cooler where the fitting, and then our sandwich plate fittings, as you guys can see. Very, very small gap between that and the radiator, but it clears, which makes it perfect right there. So now we're obviously going to use a rubber line to make our mock-up hoses. Then we'll go ahead and make the stainless steel crimp ones, just like we did with the turbo drain and everything else. But yeah, pretty much now I'm going to cut these to length, mock them up, and then this section of the kit will be finished, and we can go ahead and route it to the pan. Alright, so test fitted the cooler fittings itself, perfect right there with the lines, and right there. So this is pretty much with the stainless steel lines. Will be heat wrapped as well. That's how it should look. Tons of clearancing. We will heat wrap them. We will do all this stuff so they don't rub. But now we got to test fit the radiator into the car. Make sure that this clears everything, because that's the most important. Just like that, we got our radiator in. You guys can see right here, pretty much tons of clearance right there. Perfect sandwich plate right there. Fittings of clearance. Very, very good. Very happy with the result right here. So now we can go ahead and mark these lines, and we'll be set to go. Now we're gonna go to the oil pan itself. So for the oil pan section, I'm gonna be using one of these 90s, -10 female to -10 male. And I'm gonna be using these -10 45 degrees. Now let's go under here. So with the LOJ swap, the oil pan pretty much comes with two bunks. One's in, one's out. One's oil pump feeding the relocation, and one's the relocation going back to the motor. So now in this situation, it's very, very tight. The power steering hard lines I made before, that was for an NA setup. It worked perfectly fine, cleared everything good, but it's kind of gonna interfere with this now. So we're gonna go ahead and make new lines for that. But pretty much I'm gonna mount both fittings just like that, so it's facing up, and we can route the lines up through here like we did with the power steering. Sorry about this fuse wiring, but we could route it up through here, and then there is a mounting point right here as well where we can mount them and then bring them down to where our oil filter relocation fittings are right there, if the camera focuses. So yeah, very tight, but should be doable. So yeah, we're gonna do that. Now the mock-up is finished, so we went ahead and threw our larger oil filter on just for reference. Then we went ahead and did our oil cooler lines that I showed you guys before. And now we also have our sandwich plate lines as well made up. They're going right there. They're gonna be heat sleeved. They go right under the headers and then come out. So they come out through this area right here and they go right there. So you guys can see R for return, F for feed. Nice 90-degree fittings right there, and then we'll make new power steering lines as well, so it clears everything. But this looks very good. I'm very excited for this setup. Should come out very clean. Now we can go ahead and go to the shop, crimp these with stainless steel, and then come back. And we're also gonna make our turbo feed, which is gonna go from right there probably over all the way to this area right here for a turbo feed. And then that will be our oiling system, and we're set to go. So yeah, we'll catch back up when I make the stainless steel lines for this, and we'll wrap up the video then when we do the final installation and show the final assembly. All right guys, so we're back. Sorry, we're in the process of moving, doing some stuff, so it's been a little bit busy, but now I'm back. So last one we picked up, we made the rubber lines for the oiling system. I went ahead and made the steel ones now, but first, before anything, let's hook up our turbo oil feed, which I have made. So as always, we got a crimping machine, some Tessa tape, high-end -4 fittings, -4 lines, heat sleeve, and then we have my straight with the 90 that goes to right there where the sandwich plate is. So we're gonna route this up now. Alright, so we got our oil line hooked up right there, perfect. Routes through, goes through under there, no belt interference or anything. And bam, looking nice. So perfect, just like that. As you guys can see, we got the radiator in, and then here's now the oil cooler. So we got our hoses mounted up. Anytime with my oil coolers, you just get these tight, and then 1 or 2 turns and you're good to go. So we got the lines going. This kink here is no problem. And then we got our sandwich plate right there. So this right now isn't mounted in, obviously it's gonna be like this, so there's good clearance, but that looks very good. I'm very, very happy with it. And we got tons of clearance for the hoses, so this is good. Like this, now we can go ahead and do the back section, go into the oil pan. Finally, this oil system took a little bit longer to do, but as we showed you guys, we did the turbo drain, turbo feed, going to our TriggaSpec Relocation Kit, our oil cooler system, our nice oil filter, and then as well our hoses routed up from here going into here, and then for right here, so we have our oil cooler system connected to the pan, and then we have our power steering lines. I did make the power steering rack line a little too long, so I had to utilize this other line I had. That's why it's looped up like this, and the reason I looped them like this is because I needed it to not be lower than the transmission so it could clear. So that was one of the main things for it. But yeah, so this is pretty much how the assembly is gonna look like. Power steering lines, you got your oil cooler lines, and then the route up, heat wrap right here, tons of clearance against our steering shaft, which is nice. I'll have to mount these guys as well, but power steering lines got tons of clearance, everything looking good. So yeah, oiling system is done for this car, and now we can begin concentrating next on pretty much getting the radiator set up in, all the coolant lines, getting the manifold set up, and then finalizing it with our fuel return system that we need to do for the manifold, going back to the fuel cell in the trunk. And then all that pretty much remains is drive shaft, wheels, and wiring, and the ECU. So 4 big ticket items left, and then that's pretty much it. Car has come a long way. It's got a lot of stuff done to it now. Extremely modified S14. It's been very fun for me to do. This was definitely a test of my challenge to see how well I can do in this industry, and happy to say I'm doing very well. So appreciate you everybody, and there's that for you guys. So yep, anyways, appreciate you guys. We gotta wrap these cars up before this rain comes. See you guys in the next one. Thank you. Peace.